What's up everyone? In this new car review we are checking out the new Nissan Navara N-Trek Warrior, the top of the line model Nissan Navara. Now the best thing about this is it was tested, developed and set up here in Australia by the guys at Premcar. If you know anything about them, you know they can do some pretty cool stuff with a motor vehicle. Now this thing was designed for the type of person that either wants to A, go off-roading and camping, or B, just wants a cool looking dual cab ute to have the best looking one on the job site. This thing's designed, well, to do both. Does it? Well, we're going to find out. So why are we reviewing the Navara? Well, because everyone needs a daily driver, right? And let's face it, you want to have a daily driver that can do what you need it to do during the day, be comfortable and enjoyable, look good, and then use it as a support vehicle on the weekend, tow your race car, and whatever else you need to do, or just use it to go fishing, camping, whatever, take the boat out, etc. So that's what we're going to look at. We're going to check out with this car. A, is it a good daily driver? B, is it a good work vehicle? And C, is it any good at basic off-road for people like us that just want to dabble in it and have a little bit of fun? So let's start off with what this thing is like to use as a daily driver. I will start off by saying this. I don't like utes. Never have, and I've never wanted to buy one. I've had heaps of press cars, used them as support vehicles at events, so they're great for that. But I keep coming back to my Hyundai iLoad because it drives like a car, is more comfortable, fits heaps more inside and you can lock it up, and it tows better. Now it doesn't tow more, just tows more stable and tows better. So when Nissan said, hey, do you want to review the new Warrior? You'll be impressed. I was a little bit skeptical. Now, I got given a base model Navara first, and to be honest, it was very uninspiring. Very stiff, doesn't handle very well, just a tool, no emotion to it whatsoever. And we'll say this though, it has the worst seating position of probably any car I've ever driven. Whoever in Japan tested that seat must have been 4 foot tall, because for someone like me, it was terrible, way too high. So Nissan, please change the seating position in a normal Navara. It made me angry every time I got in the car, and just angry now thinking about it. So when I switched up to the Warrior, I was told by my friend at Nissan, you will be impressed, it's nothing like a normal Navara. And I was like, okay, whatever you say, man. Now the first impression within 100 metres of driving the new Warrior is that he was right. The Warrior is nothing like the normal Navara. It is totally different, and for so many reasons. So before we talk about how it drives, let's have a bit of a look over the car and see what you get when you get a Warrior. The N-Trek Warrior is a cool looking thing. The hoopless steel bull bar integrates well into the front end and looks tough, and also has a light bar. It has underbody protection up front as well. There's a sports roll bar, plenty of things blacked out, and a sticker pack to let people know what you're driving. It also has a tow bar from factory. The fender flares now house new Cooper Discoverer AT3 tyres, chosen for their ability both on and off-road, as well as new 17-inch alloys. The Warrior has a suspension lift over the normal N-Trek for better ground clearance off-road. Makes it look a little tougher too. Underneath is where the magic happens, with a new shock and spring package developed right here in Australia by Premcar. The Warrior also has an electronic rear differential lock as well. Inside, the Warrior is filled to the brim with modern safety and technology. Apple CarPlay stereo, climate control, cruise control, front side knee and curtain airbags, and all the other things that make a new car beep at you all the time. The spec list on Nissan's website is rather long. The leather seats with orange accents add some style and tie the exterior and interior together for what is a comfortable place to be for a dual cab ute. Under the hood is a 2.3 litre twin-turbo 4-cylinder diesel. It makes 140 kilowatts, but more importantly, 450 newton meters of torque through a 7-speed auto or 6-speed manual. Fuel consumption is very good, both on paper at 7 litres per 100 k's combined and in real life. It also keeps the 3.5 tonne towing capacity. The best thing about the Warrior though is the price, a little over $65,000 drive away.
That makes it cheaper than many of its spec'd up rivals and a whopping $20,000 cheaper than the Ford Ranger Raptor, making it great value for its abilities, looks and spec list.
So what does the Warrior actually drive like? Well, truth be told, amazing. What's very bizarre is this thing was designed to be better off-road than the base Navara, but the guys at Premcar have done such a good job with the suspension tune that it actually drives better all of the time. On-road, off-road, city driving, highway driving, everything. It's smoother than the normal Navara, it absorbs bumps better, and it handles better, way better than a base model Navara, to the point where I'm not going to say that it's sports car fun, but it's enjoyable to drive this thing. Now, when I first sat in this thing, I noticed straight away that the seating position is lower. It is much improved over the base model Navara. Sitting inside, it's a nice place to be. As you saw from the spec sheets, it's got every mod con you could want, from climate control and cruise control and all that stuff. The trimmed seats are pretty nice, they're comfy. Overall, it's just a nice place to be inside. It's no luxury sports car, but it's still pretty good, to the point of I've actually enjoyed driving it daily. Cruises really well on the freeway, it's comfortable in traffic, it's not overly noisy, especially with these tyres that are designed for off-road. But the really surprising part about the Warrior is its handling. I'll find myself when I drive between the Central Coast and Sydney, instead of just taking the freeway like I would in my van, or probably just any other normal car, it's actually fun to take the detour and go through Old Pack. Legitimately fun. Normally, if a car's not fun to drive through, I wouldn't detour and take longer to get somewhere. I'm impatient. But in the Warrior, I'm not saying it's sports car fast, but it's actually legitimately fun to throw through some corners. Get this thing flowing through Old Pack and it's really enjoyable. I mean, the brakes aren't incredible, but you're not going fast enough to really need to lean on them. If you just get flowing through the corners, it is a pretty fun, amazing car to drive quickly. It really is, it's good. So the bit that baffles me the most is this car was designed to be improved at off-roading, but it's better on the road as well. So I guess we better go check those claims. Let's go find ourselves a bit of off-road action and see how good this thing is for what it was actually designed for. Now, I'll be the first to admit that I am in no way an expert four-wheel driver. There is plenty of YouTube channels where you can go and check out just how good a four-wheel drive like the Warrior is off-road. Me personally, I don't really know anyone that buys a ute brand new for over 60 grand and then takes it in a crazy off-roading situation where the car's going to get scratched and damaged. So really, I just need to test whether or not that this car is good enough to allow a guy like me to just have some fun either on a beach or a very basic four-wheel drive track. And I've managed to find a four-wheel drive track that's got enough ruts and enough embankments to climb up that will basically put this car to the test to see whether the average guy like me can go four-wheel driving it and enjoy it. Diff lock, four-wheel drive into low range. Let's go. It's got great ground clearance, good approach departure angle, so I'm not really worried about hitting all these giant ruts that you can tell people have gone four-wheel driving through. It's pretty good. In fact, it's pretty easy, and that's really what I wanted to check is, could a guy like me just jump in this thing and, you know, hit some four-wheel drive tracks and have a bit of fun? And so far, it's pretty good. All right, now let's try the hard part, an embankment, probably 30 degrees, I'd say. Very slippery, there's rocks everywhere. Should be a good test to see if this thing's any good. So the Warrior just made that way too easy. I would have approached that with a bit of caution in sort of a soft roader. I wouldn't have taken probably a normal Navara ute up there, but the Warrior makes it pretty easy, to be honest. If you're like me, you've never really done any four-wheel driving, you want to give it a go, this thing works a treat. So it's time for the final test for the Navara Warrior, and that is towing. We have our R33 GTR on the back on the car trailer. We're probably pulling about 1.8 to 2 tonne with the way that's set up right now. Now with 450 Newton meters of torque, I will say this, I think the Navara would struggle if it's towing its full capacity of 3.5 tonne, but with more of an average load on the back, so far in normal traffic, it tows really well actually. Upper hill's good, in traffic's good, it brakes well, but the biggest thing for me is just how stable this thing is, because the Hyundai iLoad for me has been the best tow vehicle I've ever used. Just so stable. Straight away, I've actually got a lot more confidence driving the Navara Warrior with a trailer in the back in traffic than I do with my iLoad. So that's a pretty good start for its towing ability. To be honest, you could probably drive around with your average tradie trailer or a jet ski on the back, and honestly, you barely tell that it's there. It tows that well in traffic. But right now, with the car trailer on the back, up and down hills, in traffic and everything is completely fine. In fact, I'm pretty impressed with how well it tows stability-wise. Could do with a little bit more grunt, but it's got enough to pull this thing up hills and stuff, so it's not too bad. All right, so some freeway towing now. I'm sitting at 110, and I'm pretty impressed, actually. This thing's pretty stable. I always thought the iLoad was the best vehicle I'd ever towed with, but the Navara Warrior is pretty good. I keep saying it, whatever Premcar did to the suspension in this thing has just made it better at everything that it does. Off-road, on-road, and even towing. This thing is really good. Usually I'm a little bit nervous when I'm towing a race car in the back. I don't know why, just, you know how it goes, but I've had some, not great experiences in utes in the past towing, but all right, here's the ultimate test. Up a hill, on the freeway, we're doing 110. Let's see how well it copes up the hill now. Not bad. Pretty steep hill on the M1, but drop it back a couple of gears, keep it pinned, and it can stay at 110 the whole way up the hill. So it passes the towing test with a race car on the back quite well. Obviously with 3.5 ton on the back it wouldn't be as good, but with a race car on the back, I'm impressed. This thing, I hate to say it, I found something that tows better than my Hyundai iLoad. So in summary, the Warrior really does have split personalities. During the day, great work vehicle, looks good on the job site in front of all the boys, and can obviously do what you need it to do as a dual cab ute. Of a night, it does the family run with no problem, fits the kids in the back, the missus will like it, it's got plenty of mod cons inside, and it's a comfortable place to be. Friday night, well, this thing looks good enough. Head out with the boys, or take the missus out, whatever. On a Saturday or Sunday, you can take out the boat, go four-wheel driving, go camping, do whatever, or most importantly, it's good enough at towing that you can tow your race car to the track and use it as a support vehicle. But bizarrely, amongst all that, in between it doing what you know it should be good at, this thing is still fun to drive on a twisty piece of road. So it really is a great all-rounder. I'm not saying it can do what a sports car can do, obviously, but it lets you have some fun with it in various scenarios. So it's a pretty cool piece of kit. And on top of all that, it's actually a pretty serious off-roader. So hats off to Nissan and to Premcar on the Warrior, because like I said at the start, don't really like utes, but this thing has really impressed me to the point where I've done a couple of thousand Ks now and don't really want to give it back, to be honest. It's that good. It's that good. What could be better? Well, everyone says the same thing. The only thing that you could do to this to make it better, that's a reasonable request anyway, please, bigger engine. Bring back the V6 turbo diesel, give us 550 Newton meters of torque, give us a couple 100 kilowatts, and this thing would just be the most awesome ute I've ever seen, to the point where I'd probably just rush out and buy it. So please, Nissan, if you're listening, bigger, better engine in the Warrior would make for an awesome ute that the people are actually demanding and that the people want. Please give us that.